Welcome to DocuMary. Compliments of my producer, director, voice teacher, Callie Hansen. To that I will greet you with a poem called Buon Appetito. A plateful has been served you, my friend. Plates full are for those prepared to dine with gusto, abandon, appetite. So eat well and grasp the pewter cup. Drink deeply from all the wells of wisdom. Fealty your constant companion. Drink till the last drop is drained. Joy and redemption served after the pain. Faraway places with strange sounding names, far away over the sea. Those faraway places with their strange sounding names are calling, calling me. Go to China or maybe Siam, I want to see for myself those faraway places I've been reading about in a book that I took from the shelf. I start getting restless whenever I hear the whistle of a train. I pray for the day I can get underway and look for those castles in Spain. They call me a dreamer, well maybe I am, but I know that I'm yearning to see those faraway places with their strange sounding names that are calling, calling me. Go to China or maybe Siam, but I want to see for myself those faraway places I've been reading about in a book that I took from the shelf. Those faraway places with their strange sounding names are calling, calling me. Well, that was fun.
Yes, it was. Can you tell me about some of the faraway places you've been?
Oh, golly. You know, that song, that Faraway Places, reminds me of singing that when I was about 8 years old with my friend Jeannie Carew. That song was popular in that day, which is probably in the 1940s. And it was sort of like they kind of predicted what was going to happen for me in my life. And I probably remember the first time, sort of remember traveling the first time. It was a long trip. It was right at the end of World War II. My dad had gone down to Texas, way down by the Mexican border, and left us way up by the Canadian border, and 2,000 miles. And my mother was able to get a hold of a car when people didn't travel very much by cars, and the highways weren't in very much, just 2-lane roads. Of course, no credit cards or no cell phones, or just maps. And my 2 big brothers, David and Jim, and me and Mom. My mother was about this tall.
Oh my goodness.
And do you know what? She was a redhead like you.
Really?
Yeah. And anyway, she wanted to be with my dad, and so she set out to drive us to Texas. And as I said, I looked up just recently, it was really 2,000 miles, and gas was not easy to find. He had the little coupons, little tokens in order to, you only use so much gas. And so we think this man, a friend of my grandmother's by the name of Billy Wilkes, probably was responsible for getting a car. And but anyway, we went. I have no idea how long it took. A lot of what I remember about that trip is not so much my memories, but what I've been told. Few things I remember, but I was about 6, and I remember singing there. I guess they kept me in it. Of course, we didn't have a car radio. It was. You'd think we were living in prehistoric times, but it was. I guess my mom was just kind of like that. She just took off, and so yeah, we got drove and drove and drove, and on the way we were singing, "Oh, the stars are bright, they're big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas." I remember. And then we got to the Texas border, and I started crying, "Where's my dad?" And I don't know how far it was, but Texas is one big state. It was a long way down to Laredo. But we got there, and we were only there a year, and Mom put me in it was a fully Spanish-speaking, probably a kindergarten. They told me that the nun who was the principal, it was a Catholic school. Nuns are the religious people, and that the principal would have her go down to the office to help her learn English. I'm 6 years old, teaching her English. Anyway, one thing I do remember was the smell of tortillas. We had a room or a place in a house with Mrs. Sanchez, and I have a picture, I think I've shown that to you, of my brothers and me, and they're in their cowboy boots and I'm in the huaraches, and so this is all bringing back memories. That was the first really trip I had, long one, and then we got back and we landed near my great aunt's house, and my mom thought maybe it was time to stop traveling and settle down, so we were in New Jersey by then. It was right outside of New York City, and that's where I grew up. And so the next really big trip I remember it was fun, was with Billy Wilkes. Here he is again, the mysterious Billy Wilkes. And we were visiting my grandma back up in northern New York State, and Billy showed up, and with a great big car. You know, I showed you that picture? That big old 2-door, I think it was a Buick. I don't know, it must have been bigger because there were five of us. There was Billy, did all the driving, and there was Ma, that's my grandma, Mom, and another woman I think she was a cousin of Billy Wilkes. And it was just me, little one, and 10 years old, and he took us over the border to, well, not very far, to the Canadian border, and drove all the way across the eastern provinces of Canada, out to the Gaspé Peninsula, and we stopped at different places along. There weren't hotels, pretty much. You stayed in guest homes, and you just ate wherever you could find. I remember one place in particular, we stopped where it was late in the afternoon, and it was at a place they had just brought in fresh salmon, fresh catch. It was the first time I ever had salmon. It was good. I remember that one. The other thing I remember, every afternoon, Billy would get tired of driving, and he'd stop the car, and he'd say, "Anybody feeling low?" And so everybody got out, and he went out and popped the trunk and pulled out a bottle of whiskey. And they all had a little shot of whiskey or whatever, probably scotch. And then I had mine. I had a little tiny drink of, my special drink was a creme de menthe. It's, or creme de menthe. It's a liqueur, very sweet, it's yucky. It just kind of shiver thinking about it, but that was, my treat. Here I was, these grown-ups, and drinking at age 10. Not really. And so they put me and Mom on a boat, on a ferry, went all the way from the Gaspé Peninsula down to Boston, and took a train from Boston down. This is just me and my mom going back home, down to New York City, and then back to Teaneck, New Jersey, and that's where I went to school, and then I see the next thing I grew up and went to college. I went back upstate New York to college, the same college my mother went to, and she was a teacher, and it was a teacher's college. Back in that time, it was called. When my mother went, there was just a 2-year college, and it was called Potsdam Normal School. When I went there at 17, it was called Potsdam State Teachers College. Now it's called SUNY New York. It's State University of New York, Potsdam. It's if not the first school where it has a very famous school of music for music teachers. And but I was in the elementary education part, and but I got to listen to a lot of wonderful music there. You might be interested in that someday, but it's awful cold in the winter up there. Goes down to 40 below zero sometimes.
Oh my gosh.
And so that was on. I went back down. I had a teaching job in New Jersey, and first year teaching, my brother David, like your father, his father's name, he was a cargo pilot in Saudi Arabia, and he had met an Italian woman by the name of Franca Lombardini, and he sent a picture and said he was going to get married over there, and she lived in Ethiopia, which is in Africa. It's just where Egypt is, it's just south of Egypt. But it's a long way.
Yeah.
It's like not quite halfway around the world, but a long way. People didn't hardly fly in those days. Now, actually, my mother was supposed to go, but she couldn't find the proper papers to get a passport, but I could. My baptismal certificate, and it was because she was born in 1909. The papers weren't very correct, and so I got to go to represent the family, and somehow I remember part of the flight was on the first iteration of the 707 or the 700 series. It was a 707, part of the trip, and on the way, I just somehow got, I think I had an agent. There wasn't, of course, any computers, or you didn't do all of that. I must have had an agent get me tickets or something. I think my brother paid for the tickets. Anyway, it happened.
Yeah.
And the planes didn't go very far in those days, so they kind of hopped. Went to New York, to London, to Athens, to Cairo, to Khartoum, and down to Asmara, Ethiopia. Ethiopia is now called Eritrea. It's kind of separated out, but that's Asmara. And she was a part of a group of Italians who had migrated down there during the Second World War. They called themselves Osmarinis. And anyway, she was going to be married there. And so that was where I headed, 21 years old. It was Christmas vacation for my first teaching job. And people sometimes ask me, were you scared? And I said, I didn't even think about it. I just did it. Life was like that for me.
Yeah.
And so on the way, got to Athens and doing that hop, and then I got on the plane to go to, the next stop was Cairo. I met a woman who, she was a retired German school teacher, and we agreed to meet the next day because I had to stay overnight in order to get a flight out to go to Asmara. And so we were going to do everything in the world to I mean, to see everything we could see, because I'd never be back there, I never had a chance. So every place I went, I was doing everything I could. And little did I know that I would be back living there 5 years later with your grandpa.
Wow, that's so cool.
That's just for starters, you know. And I got down there, there was a wedding. It was actually the day after Christmas. My brother's birthday was Christmas. And so they had the birthday right after, and the day after. And I didn't know, but Franca's mother had died a couple months before, and her father was in the hospital dying. So I found out afterwards. And so the day after the funeral, her father died, and the day after the wedding, her father died, and then there was a funeral. So I got to go to an Italian wedding, an Italian funeral, and I got to see Cairo, Rome,
Wow.
Madrid, and all in about 3 weeks.
Wow.
And so that was just for starters. So, I don't know, does it bring up any questions? I'm sure you have a whole lot of them.
I have a question
Yeah.
about how you could afford traveling all
Oh,
the way.
wow. Well, you know, teachers, I had about an average teacher's salary in that day. And I do remember, of course, we didn't have credit cards, and I do remember I traveled with $200 in traveler's checks, that's all.
Wow.
And I think my brother paid for the trip. And of course, he paid the expenses when I was there. And there's no I don't know how that happened. And he may have put some money in my pocket as I left, I don't know. But I survived, and so if somebody said, well, how much money did school teachers make in those times? Yeah. And I told that to your uncle, I think it was Uncle Mike asked me that. And I said, how much did you make? It's kind of the same question, how did you afford to do that?
Yeah.
And I said, $4,200. And he said, oh, was that a month? And I said, no, a year. See, the dollar was worth a whole lot more than it is today. And you know, it happened. And anyway, that's a big step. And then I did tell you that's where my first home was, with your grandpa Bahe. He was from Lebanon, which was a country in the Middle East, and I met him back in the States. People ask me, you know, where did you meet Vahe? And I said, I met him in an elevator in Milwaukee. And truth be told, what happened, and people laugh at that. What do you mean you met a guy from Lebanon? And yeah. So, well, I was visiting out in Milwaukee, visiting my dad, who was on a job there. And he was an architect's representative for a construction company. And he was doing, he was on the Marine Plaza, which was the biggest building at the time in Milwaukee. And he I got to that place and took the elevator up. And there was this very handsome, not so tall guy on the elevator. And I thought, that's interesting. And I got up there, and that evening, somebody in the office, in my dad's office, a guy, he and his girlfriend had put together a bowling pizza party for the 5 of us. And that was my first date with Vahe.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
So he had never been bowling. He was just new, an immigrant, and he was just new, and he probably never had a pizza before or bowling, but he did. He always would try everything. He was really cool. He had a good sense of humor, just about everything. So it was a few years of some dating, and then we got married, and he was actually working in Cairo at the time, and for an American company. And he was working on that building with my dad. He was a soils engineer, And he did the borings for the building, that is, to see if the building would stand up. And, but that's how I met him. And then we were married, and then went to live in Cairo, because that's where his job was. That's my first home.
Where did you get married?
Oh, got married near my big brother Jim's home, outside of Schenectady, New York.
Cool.
Schenectady is like near Albany. It's north of New York City, about 150 miles or so. And I didn't have anybody from his side of the family, and of course I had my brother there, and my other brother David was living in Vermont, so he came down from Vermont, and my mother was living in Rochester, and she came over, so we kind of a central place. And then I took off and went to live in Egypt.
Wow.
So you can see the songs, the faraway places kind of said, far away over the sea, going to China, going to Siam. Well, I didn't go there, but I sure went a lot of other places.
One day you'll look to see I've gone, for tomorrow may rain, so I'll follow the sun. Someday you'll know I was the one, but tomorrow may rain, so I'll follow the sun.
Here comes the sun.
Do-do-do-do.
Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright.
Little darling,
It's been a long, cold, lonely winter.
little darling,
It feels like years since it's been here.
here comes the sun, do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Little darling, the smiles returning to the faces. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. And now the time has come, and so my love I must go. And though I lose a friend, in the end you will know. Oh, oh, oh.
One day I'll find that you have gone.
For tomorrow may rain, so we'll follow the sun. And now the time has come, and so my love I must go. And though I lose a friend, in the end you will know. Oh, oh, oh. One day you'll find that I have gone.
For tomorrow may rain, so
We'll follow the sun. It was my first week at International Women's Writing Guild, and I had my first little surprise, and poetry started coming in. And the teacher had put a prompt on the board, and I just looked at that, and I put my pen down and looked at the paper and waited, and this is what came in, my first poem, and it's titled, I Am Sure. I am sure of nothing.
I am sure that life is about change. I am sure that I am sane. I am sure that I'm insane. I am sure that I have all I need right now. I am sure that chance favors those in motion. And I am sure that pain is a given, and I am sure that suffering is optional. I am sure that I have always been and always will be. I am sure that I have the perfect teachers. I am sure that I'm learning perfectly. I am sure that the perfect lesson does not require the perfect teacher. I am sure that all is love. I am sure that life is all ah. I am sure that I will not be left comfortless. I am sure that I don't have to know everything in order to begin. I am sure that once I am on the path, I am at the goal. I am sure that if I'm asking why, I'm not listening.
So here's one of a personal request from Callie. It's your favorite poem that I have in my chapbook, Through the Keyhole.
Through the keyhole. Every breath says yes to life. Inhale, inspiration. Fear takes your breath away. Expire, expiration. Before there was fear, there was spirit. Your angel self remembers freedom and light. Reality is an illusion, walling out spirit. Only love breaches the barrier to feast at the table of remembering. Fear never rests. It wanders homeless until we invite him in to frighten angel self away. Fear secures itself in logic. Common sense, the costume. Illusion becomes the currency. Companions all to the doom. Human beings are lovers. Human doings are hiders. Love is who you are when angel self removes the blinders. Dreams are the keyholes through which angels climb to deliver truth and spirit from the remember time. My beloved sees me, and with the seduction of a narcissus pool, frees my soul to love passionately. My beloved loves me, and in the blessed vernal Cairo night, envelops me with milky warmth, and sweet jasmine consumes my senses. As the ancient feluccas with palisade sails cut silently the indigo waters of Mother Nile, so does my beloved plow my soul, carving artful love notes for my dreams. The crisp crescent moon scoops myriad of stars just for my delight, while angels hover with guarding joy, and my love sees me. I am seduced by love itself. See how my loved one loves me. My beloved untied my throat, looked deeply into the well of my soul, and saw me, gave birth to that which is me for the second time. Free from the cord that strangled my life, I am loose to speak truth. The lubricated doors of life itself weep with joy and ecstasy. My beloved, I quake at your arrival. Your voice, your angel voice, sings to my soul. Death is not life's disaster, but what we let die while living. So let us be, just this moment in time, soulful passionate, loving, divine. Is this the little girl I carried? Is this the little boy at play? I don't remember growing older. When did they? When did she get to be a beauty? When did he grow to be so tall? Wasn't it yesterday that they were small? Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, swiftly fly the days. Seedlings turn overnight to sunflowers, blossoming even as we gaze. Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, swiftly fly the years. One season following another, laden with happiness and tears. Now is the little boy a bridegroom. Now is the little girl a bride. Under the canopy I see them side by side. Place the gold ring around her finger. Share the sweet wine and break the glass. Soon the first circle will have come to pass. Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, swiftly flow the days. Seedlings turn overnight to sunflowers, blossoming even as we gaze. Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, swiftly fly the years. One season following another, laden with happiness and tears. I love you.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed our DocuMary that Kelly and I have put together. It's been enjoyable going back through the years, and I'm looking forward to doing more. Stay tuned. In the meantime, I'll leave you with this poem, Either Or. Moving from the world of either or to both and more, to have it all, requires a leap of faith. To look fear in the face and charge through the mirror, defying the shards of glass that fly through the universe. Go ahead, trust, jump. The wings will appear.